Hello and welcome to the Wolves Report. I'm Ryan Lester and thank you for joining us for episode 58, where tonight we'll analyse the Forest game. We'll ask the questions, discuss what is needed to survive, take your questions and look ahead to Chelsea. I've got my two loyal midfield generals who've been promoted to club captain and director of football. You pick which one's which. And of course, we're delighted to be joined by BBC WM's Daz Hale. Straight into business. Lots of anger, lots of frustration, but not a defeat. Daz, your take on Forest 1, Wolves 1.
Got out of jail, didn't we? And I think it proves once and for all what a complete load of old cobblers these people who look at possession stats, because wasn't it that the most possession we've ever had of a ball in a Premier League game? 72%. Didn't have a shot on target until we scored 7 minutes from time. It's all very... I just feel a sense of foreboding at the moment. I think everybody does who are watching us play. And again, 5 changes going into the game, a different system, different players, another 2 changes at half time. And it's all just very erratic. And I think the manager's selections are erratic. I think his behaviour is erratic. And I just don't sense the leadership and the gravitas that I think we all thought we were getting. And maybe we are, but at the moment he seems as if he's panicking more than anybody. And maybe it comes from being Spain manager when you don't get that too many challenging matches. You're Real Madrid manager, it's like being Celtic or Rangers manager. You have, half a dozen tough games a season. But I think this has been a huge culture shock to him and to his staff. And it's touch and go now, isn't it? It's probably always has been, but as each game goes by, it's just I'm just becoming more and more concerned.
Nocky, obviously we were all there together at the weekend, but where has this negativity come from? Because we've seen positive performances, we've seen positive halves of football. I mean, I go back to the Liverpool game, second half against Spurs, first half against Villa, positive front foot football where Wolves look good. What's going on?
It's hard to say. I mean, he seems to have developed this mentality now, let's try not to lose. And he set up with 4 central midfielders, and I just didn't understand what we were trying to achieve. You're up against a team who concede lots of goals, lose lots of games. They're not too bad at home, but they got spanked playing 4-3-3 against Newcastle. So there was a pattern and a platform there for us to build on. But we were just turgid, we were boring. And I think when the team was released, all 3 of us said he's going to end up making substitutions at half time before we even kicked off, because you knew what was going to come. We were just negative. He's got this fascination with playing Cunha through the middle when anyone with half a brain cell knows he's not a striker, he's a wide attacker, but he seems to persist with it. He left his 2 central strikers on the bench. It was just a really bizarre performance. And to be honest, I think we could have been three down before we even got a sniff of that goal, because I thought they were much better than us. I thought Gibbs White ran the game because we allowed him so much space in midfield because we were playing so deep. They created chances, just didn't have anyone to finish it. The goal was, for me, a Sarr error. He should have come and got that or shut the space down. But it was just a game that I felt from minute 1 we were going to lose. It just felt that way, the way we were set up. And he made a few changes which were positive on paper, but I think Sarabia came on. He was probably Forest's best player in the second half. And he took Adama off, which I didn't fully understand. He wasn't having his best game, but they were worried about him. They had to take the fullback off as a result of him coming on. So I just felt it was a boring, turgid setup that was trying not to lose a game rather than making them worry about us and go and try and win it.
I mean, Tyler, we made our way up there on the train on Saturday, and someone texted me the team with more info than me, and we both laughed at each other. And you were saying to me, share that with Nocky. And I was like, I'm not, because you'll just laugh at me. There's no way anyone will believe that that's the team. So we'd had the tip off. We got the team news, it's great to have the information, to respect and to trust that. But Tyler, when we joked about it, we're like, that's not the team. He's not starting 4 centre midfielders, surely. I know he wants to keep the ball and pin the opposition, but surprise, surprise. And if you play 4 holding midfielders and you keep lots of the ball but don't create anything, should we really be surprised?
I just don't understand. And like we've said earlier, we're just 3 punters that have a chat about football, and obviously Daz is probably more qualified than us. But if we can all see it, like Nocky said, as soon as the teams run out, you know exactly what's going to happen. You knew how the first half was going to go. yeah, we had possession, but I've talked about it every week. It's just safe possession. It's Lamina at the third centre back. It's passing it side to side. It's going nowhere. They looked lively every time they had the ball. I said to you, Knocker, in the game, didn't I? I said every time they go forward, they look like they could score. We never look like scoring. Just don't understand it, whatsoever. You've always said, Ryan, Wolves are best when we're on the front foot, they're attacking, and we just don't seem to do it anymore. And he's obviously very safe, and a couple of people sort of put on Twitter that that's his plan, just to keep us in the league, however he does it. But it's not good to watch. It's not enjoyable. And I won't for the life of me understand that team selection on Saturday.
I think we'll only know, won't we, at the end of the season, how good a result that was on Saturday. It was a bonus point, without a shadow of a doubt, the way we played. And I agree. I mean, you think of like when they came out on the front foot against Liverpool at home, absolutely blew them away. In fairness, for half an hour against Leeds last Saturday, because they conceded, they had to come out and play then. But if this is his master plan and it gets us over the line, I'll take it all day long, but we won't know. It just seems as though we're making it more difficult for ourselves than it has to be. And when we're on the front foot, when we're being with the players that we've got, we're better than this. And again, the Tinkerman stuff, it's okay if it works, but it doesn't work. It's not working. And, if you pick a regular starting 11, and I know that you change one or two, and, of course you do, but at the moment, it is literally a tombola. It just feels like, well, where's he going to? Oh, you can play today. You can have 45 minutes, and it's 1 win in 7. It's not working. And then you look. I talked about this on the phone in, and admittedly, Villa have got more than Wolves up front. But if you actually compared the Wolves and the Villa teams, man for man, there ain't that much in it. And yet their manager's come in, and he's picked up 29 points from 15 games because he plays the same way every week. He picks the same team, give or take, every week. Obviously they have the odd injury or the odd chat. And there's a consistency and there's a rhythm. How can you find any sort of rhythm when you're making 4 or 5 changes every game and then another 2 at half-time, then another 2 or 3? It's almost like it feels like he has to make 5 substitutions rather than it just being at his disposal.
He's having to make them, Dad, and I know he's got the 5, but he's having to make them because he's getting the first 11 wrong week in, week out. And I said the other week, 1 minute a player's playing, the next week he's not in the squad, and then he's back playing again. And like you said, that's not good for anything.
Scattergun, isn't it? It's just bizarre.
He's 14 games in now, isn't he? So for him to not know roughly what his best team is, that's unacceptable, isn't it? You'd argue.
Would you say though, no, Knocky, now we've almost fallen in that now we've become obsessed with not losing games. Now, as Daz rightly said, come the end of May, when the full-time whistle goes at Arsenal, if Wolves are 17th, it doesn't really matter because his only job this season was to keep Wolves up. We're all panicking. We're all worried because we're fans. We've got an opinions. We think we know better. I think they could have done a lot better on Saturday. I think he was terrified of losing, and he'll think you come away from there, status quo, Forest still below us. We'll keep that. That's where we want them.
It's all well and good until the teams below you start winning, and they've all got games in hand over us, and it's out of our control in many ways. And yeah, I get it. Let's try not to lose games, but when you can't beat Bournemouth and you can't beat Leeds and you can't beat Forest and you don't really try to win any of those games, and you're going to create a problem for yourself because we've got some difficult fixtures coming up. And it's just generally the whole decision-making thing is strange to me. I mean, if you've got a team that doesn't score many goals like us, you've got to play a top scorer. But he doesn't like playing Pedence for some reason. He's tinkering with it. He's not giving anything a chance to settle in and bed in and give us an opportunity to really impose ourselves on games. And the only time we seem to come to life is when we're in trouble. And if we started like that against Forest, if we'd have gone with a 4-2-3-1 with Sarabia, Pedence, Neto, a formulation of that behind a striker, I think we win the football match. But to go there and play the way we did with 4 midfielders and let's try not to lose, we gave a goal away and it was almost curtains at that point. So it was just I don't know what he's trying to achieve at the moment. Normally you can look at it and you can think, I see what he's trying to do here. I just don't see it because you can't pick his 11, you can't pick the system he's going to play, and you can't pick the tactics. It's a complete mess. If we can't figure it out, the opposition can't figure it out. There's not a chance now the players can figure out what's going on because everyone's all over the place at the minute. It's just a mess.
I mean, I agree what you're saying, Nocky, and I agree with everything everyone said so far. We're pretty much all on the same page. My interpretation of what he was trying to do was to smother the midfield, keep the ball, keep them completely out, and
but they looked down the time they got the ball.
But the reason is, if you've got 4 holding midfielders, you're going to naturally be sat deep. There's no real out ball. Again, Cunha's isolated. Adama didn't get enough of the ball, but I love João Moutinho, but Daz, how is João Moutinho starting as an advanced midfielder when you need legs to support the forwards in that position?
I think he was in there for his experience. Simple as that. Which takes us on to another issue, really, because the team's very quiet and the dressing room's very quiet because they allowed last summer a lot of really, really big personalities out of that dressing room. Whether they were playing regularly or not, they were there. And I mean, you talk about the goalkeeper, Ruddy, obviously Cody, Saïs, Bolly, 4 massive personalities. They've all gone out the club, which is why Neves, I think, is almost overcompensating now. I think he's almost trying to referee games now. He's really, and it's fantastic the way he's desperate to try and, step up to the play. And I think that's one of the reasons to put Dan Bentley in, actually, and Lamina to a degree, because they are at least, I mean, Dan Bentley's very vocal to have about the place. So again, it's just coming down to having the whole thing. So as regards to the Moutinho thing, I don't think he should be starting games. I think he's on 15 minutes to go when you're trying to manage a game. But again, for me, it's all about trying to find a rhythm. Now, if we'd have played really well at Forest and we hit the post 4 times and the goalie had a worldie, we'd come away with a 1-1. We'd have been going, decent point that was, we played all right. It was just the performance and the fact that the performances haven't been good now, have they, for quite some time? And that's what the concerning thing is. But I think we'll know more by tomorrow night, won't we? When I know West Ham are playing on Wednesday, but I think they'll be fine anyway with all the games in hand they've got. But a lot of the other teams who've got the game in hand are playing tomorrow night. So the league table tomorrow will actually be accurate, where it's been a little bit skewed, really, in recent weeks, because we've played 2 more games than some teams, haven't we, at one point? So we'll know a bit more where we are tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's we were on that crest of a wave. We thought we was going well, and I mean, this sounds like a ridiculous thing to say, but it almost feels like the weaker technically the opposition, the worse Wolves play. I feel like the better performances have come against the better teams. And one of you guys said it last week. I'm not sure which one of you said it in terms of Lamina's best games against the bigger teams with the more technical ability. He's in there. He's spoiling Harry Kane. He was good against Liverpool. But in the games like this, when Wolves should be taking the game to the opponents, he almost feels like it's just overkill in the midfield. I know we've talked about that and we saw the team, but
he's had 2 weeks, right? He's had 2 weeks.
Yeah, you're right.
2 weeks. We're all calling him elite manager, and that's what he serves up after 2 weeks of being on the training ground. It's not acceptable.
No.
If it was Bruno Lage, we'd all be saying sack him, and we're not saying sack him because of his pedigree and because of what he's done in the game. But we're not to work on the training ground against an inferior team, and that's what you dish up, and it's you're right,
and well, we know from our conversations off air and on how all disappointed and angry he was, particularly after the game, and I was livid at half time. And as Daz said, though, somehow we've managed to steal a point. There'll only be one team angrier in the Premier League this weekend, the Wolves, and that'll be Forest, because they'll be saying, how did we not beat Wolves? Wolves have robbed us. Yes, we robbed them. Wolves haven't been great. They've taken 4 points off Forest and went out in the Cup. And as Daz said, it might be a big point at the end of the season, but Nocky, Wolves have got to be braver. If they're struggling to defend with 4 holding midfielders against Forest, if they do that against Chelsea, they're going to get slapped.
Yeah, we've managed 1 shot on target in the whole game against Forest, against a team below us in the league who are shipping goals. So it doesn't bode very well for the Chelsea game. And Chris is right, it might be a slightly different game against them. We might go at them, we might impose ourselves, but you just don't see that happening. History tells us that we probably won't, judging on recent games. So we need to be braver, but he chooses not to, and we've got the players to be a bit more attack-minded. We haven't got fantastic players in the attacking areas, but we've got enough to worry teams. We've got enough to really impose ourselves on games, and if you play players in the right position, you're going to get the best out of them. So unless we're braver, I can't see anything other than relegation, because we can't keep using the excuse that we're out the bottom three. And I'm sick of hearing from people that we're fine, everything's fine, we're going to be fine. Because it's absolutely not. These games are running out now. Your winnable games before the Forest game, for me, I think we had 4. I think we've got 3 now that on paper are winnable. I know football doesn't always work like that, but you've got to target your games. You've got to go after them. And I don't feel like we're doing that. We're just kind of hoping we can eke out the odd point here and there and hope that there's 3 worse teams than us. And I'm concerned at the moment that there isn't.
You're currently listening to and watching episode 58 of the Wolves Report with BBC WM's Daz Hale, club captain Mark Knock, and director of football Chris Tyler, with myself, your host Ryan Lester, currently analysing the Forest game. There's 4 frustrated Wolves fans here concerned about where the club's going forward in their fight for survival. I'm certainly not as confident as I was. That first half for me was nothing short of abysmal. I think it's self-inflicted. Again, I'm not going to blame any of the players. I think this one's on the manager. What more can 4 defensive midfielders do? You can't expect players to be producing attacking performance. I think Wolves went there not to lose. They got away with it. Podence with an absolute bit of magic. But again, Daz, the subs saved the day for Wolves. And how many times are we going to keep getting away with that?
Well, I mean, again, it was a sub who saved the day, and obviously a lot of his substitutions have worked. A lot of the times they haven't worked as well. I think about Bournemouth at home, one particular instance. Look, we've got the 3 out the next 4 now at Molineux, and the last 52 Premier League games at Molineux, we've lost 24 of 52 games at Molineux in the Premier League. That has to change now. That run has to end over the next fortnight. So for me, we'll know a lot more in 2 weeks' time. Obviously, it's Chelsea at home Saturday. We've got Brentford at home, Leicester away, Palace at home. I think 3 wins between now and the end of the season, and a draw, will probably get us by. But it's interesting, isn't it? If we were looking at the winnable fixtures, well, we beat Spurs and Liverpool, but lost to Bournemouth and Leeds, didn't we? So where they'll come, I don't know. And I'm not confident they will come. But home form is crucial. And to do that, got to play front foot football for me. And when we do that, we're a better team because we have got some good footballers and some good players.
Knocky, substitutions. Why can't we start positive from the off? Why are we tucking in and leaving it? What's happened to the bravery? What's it going to take? Can Wolves against Chelsea be a bit braver because it's a game that you feel like you're going to lose?
Without being rude, what bravery are you talking about? We haven't had it. I don't remember when we last had it. We've been like this for weeks. When we were last brave, Liverpool at home we were brave. Fulham away first half we were probably brave. That was it. It's been like this, but tell me if I'm wrong, but hasn't it been like this for weeks?
Yeah, it hasn't been good, but I'm just trying to put my finger on it, Tyler. I don't understand the mentality from.
It's as simple as the selection, Ryan. If you're leaving out, rightly or wrongly, like Knocker said, they're not brilliant. But if you are leaving out 2 strikers, Podence, Neto, Sarabia, they're probably your 3 arguably most creative players. You don't have to look much further as to why you're not creating any chances or doing anything. They can, Sarabia, Knocker's right. I don't think he had a great game. But the point I was trying to make throughout the game is at least he's taken up them positions. Costa made a couple of lovely diagonal runs into the box.
Off the shoulder. Lovely.
Yeah, we haven't scored from them, but he's getting in the positions. At least it gets you up the pitch and it gets you forward. Even Neto last 10 minutes trying to link up with Bueno, they're trying to get you forward. If you play in the system he's playing with, Kuna and Adama up front, you've got no chance.
No, well, Costa was involved in the goal as well, wasn't he? Costa was involved in the build-up. Yeah,
he's intelligent and he looks. I mean, obviously he lost his head at Brentford, and I've said this a few times. I thought that Villa game away, I thought Costa was fantastic for that first hour. He was linking. He was aggressive. He was in the face. He was winding people up. He was heavily involved. And
Southampton away when he came on. Yeah.
Someone that's intelligent, that's still probably got a bit to offer. Not very long to go. Maybe Saturday. We'll talk about the Chelsea game on Saturday. But
I think they need a focal point, whether it's him, whether it's Raul, whoever it is. You need to have a big man, a proper centre forward for the others to play off. But the others focal point.
It's not rocket science. Like he said, we said Kuna's not a striker. Anyone can see that. I like him as a player. I like his energy, his enthusiasm. He's never a focal point in a million years. And I think it might be wrong, but it's time to go back to basics. I'd play Costa up there, and I'd play 3 off him. And, what have we got to lose? We're dreadful. Not doing it. Couldn't be any worse.
Well, he'll certainly be. He's always up for it, but obviously it's Chelsea as well, isn't
Exactly.
it? So,
I mean, you could say couldn't play Chelsea at a better time, but there's a squad that spent like £1 billion, and there's just incredible talent all over the pitch. One bit of magic and the game's over. But you know what? Villa went there, as you know, Daz. You were part of the team on Saturday. That they went there. They were brave. They were aggressive, and they've gone there and had a go and got their reward. That's what Wolves have to do. I expect Wolves to lose on Saturday. But I want to find out. I want to have a go. I want to see if they've got any heart or any guts. Go there and get at them. I mean, again, getting on myself all fired up ahead of Saturday when I'm absolutely dreading it. But
I don't think it's a case of guts, though, if I'm being honest. I think when we've
intent and Nocky. Intent.
No, not even so much that, mate. I think when we've been at our best is when we've got nothing to lose and there's no pressure on it. So we said it last week. We started playing well against Leeds. We were 3-0 down. The game was over. We started playing well against Southampton when we were a man down and a goal down. When that pressure's off, they play a little bit better. So there's going to be no pressure against Chelsea because most of us, I would think, are expecting a bit of a doing, especially now Potter's gone and then, the breaks will probably be off a little bit for them.
I think Chelsea play tomorrow night. Wednesday night first.
But for me, there's no pressure on us. And I think you'll see a better Wolves team without that level of pressure on them because it's not a game they go into thinking they're going to win it like your Bournemouth and your Leeds and your Forest. It's a game they can go into thinking they're going to get beat. And we've said it before, I'm not sure there's a whole amount of bottle at this club at the moment. So a game that they're not expecting to get anything out of could, it might just be something that they actually need and they can flourish.
Guys, just speaking around the room then, I think some of us would have taken a point before. I know, Nocky, you said it's a must win. For me, it was, I would love to win, but you know what? If you're going to offer me a draw, I'm probably going to take it. Are we more angry at the point? Or are we more angry at the performance, Daz?
Oh, massively the performance. I mean, if you'd have offered me a point, I'd have took it. If you'd have offered me a point at 4:45, I would absolutely have snatched your hand off. And I said earlier, if it had been a really progressive performance and a good game and we played well and come away with a point, it's just the fact that, as you were saying there, that performances haven't been well for weeks. In fact, I would say they're getting progressively worse. It was the way we were set up against the team with, that was the 50th goal they conceded on Saturday. It was a negative.
But look, one ball into the box.
Approach.
Pedent stood his man up and scored. Imagine you give the players more opportunities like that. There's goals there.
Well, another ball in the box in the first half with the crossbar with the again they didn't. I mean, I know it was the defender who nodded on the bob. They didn't deal with it, but that's why it was so frustrating to go there and be so pragmatic. Ain't the word? It's negative was the word. For me.
Yeah, it's past pragmatic now, isn't it? It's the Wolves played with fear, and it was clear to see. But as Nocky said 100 times, and we've all said, Wolves are a different. When you're a goal down, it feels like the pressure's off. Right, we've got to go and get something from the game now. I mean, it wasn't brilliant at 1-0 down, but it was so much better. Pedence comes on, makes a difference. Costa comes on, makes a difference. As you said, stood next to me, Tyler. Play Mateus Nunes in centre midfield, and you got someone that can travel with the ball and take the ball at the pitch more. It wasn't great, but it was Wolves looked better for him being there.
Bueno as well.
Well, there we go. That's something we can bring on that onto a positive. One of the big positives was the impact that Bueno had. Now, I don't think it was a terrible left back performance. But what are we expecting Toti Gomez to do? Stop his man, use his strength, use his pace, use his aggression. We're not expecting him to bomb forward. But as soon as Bueno come on, the footwork, the link-up, you could see there's a footballer there. And Nocky, Wolves were more balanced. As soon as he came on, Wolves looked a completely different team again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Aït-Nouri was injured or just not in the team for some reason, but I didn't fully understand Totti at left-back. I don't think he did a bad job. But he does kind of restrict your attacking flex. He can't get up and down in the way that an Aït-Nouri or Bueno can. But when Bueno came on, he's looked quality since he's got in the team, hasn't he? He's looked a real clever, intelligent player who doesn't feel like he has to do 5 or 6 step overs. He just delivers the ball into the box, and he gives everyone a little bit of a lift when he comes on, I think. So he looks a good player, and he did make a big impact. But as we said before, you know what those players can do from the bench. And I know he's just come back from an injury, but you've got to play your players that can be progressive. You've got to play the players who can hurt your opponents, and you're not leaving them sat on the bench, because the bench was so much stronger than what we had in attack. It was just I don't know. I just can't get my head around it now. I didn't understand the lineup at the time, and I still don't.
Decide on a system. Decide on your nucleus of players, the ones you can trust, and he should know by now which ones you can trust, which ones you can rely on, and then just. I mean, I'm not saying keep an unchanged team. I mean, I know Dyche has been keeping unchanged teams at Everton, actually, and they're picking out results. I mean, go back to Nuno when he first season in the Premier League. I don't think we changed the team for the first 9 games, did we? Look, we picked up some good results. It's like if you're at work, if you're working next to somebody the same, you build up a relationship. And of course, football's all about understanding. It's just 2 centre-backs, 2 centre midfielders, all about little, down the right, down the left. It's all about little partnerships. You get into rhythms, you get understandings. If it's chopped and changed every week, well, and it's not working, if we're winning the games and getting the results, fine, but it's not working, then that's for me. It's go back to basics, get your nucleus and stick with it, because it can't be any worse.
Do we think here now, getting to the crunch end of the season, do we think there's a trust issue here with the players? He doesn't trust a lot of the players to play that more attacking football.
Don't play them then. Don't play the ones you can't trust. The ones who look for the whites in their eyes. Have a look at them and see which ones are up for it. And the ones you aren't sure about, buy and get the ones in who are going to give you this.
I know you're not trusting Ryan, because we've talked about his subs and they've come on and they've normally done a job for him. So who's he not trusting?
Well, I'm going to give you an example, Tyler, because 2 weeks ago or a week ago, we all slated Bedence. I'm guilty of it. He should have headed across the face of goal. Instead, he's Instagrammed himself doing an overhead kick that went into next week. The following week, he's put the defender on his arse and whipped on the top corner, and it's absolute mayhem in the away end. Can you trust someone who? I mean, but the problem is now.
We all said that's how we play. He's an enigma.
Yeah.
That's what he does. So if you don't want to play any players like that, great. But you'll get what you got at Forest. You get
4 goals in 7 games.
He's still our top scorer. Yeah, it's only 6 goals. It's hardly an accolade. But name me another Wolves player that would have had the composure to finish that goal on Saturday.
Yeah, it's a great goal.
No one would. And yeah, he was an idiot. I said I don't ever want to see him ever again. But luckily I did.
It's not like you to ever Axel.
But we've been talking about making wrong decisions in the final third for 2 or 3 years. Our players are brilliant at it. They're brilliant at doing the wrong thing. But he's the only player. I mean, look at the goals he scored that got the points. West Ham, Villa. Basically, every goal he scored has been crucial. He's got to play, like Knocker said. What other team leaves the top scorer out?
Yeah, you're right. Daz, can you do the goal horn for me?
I've just seen it as well.
Is that prison slang?
Or you could just do the BBC W1 goal horn for me.
Yeah, I can do it. I'll get it for you because I've got it on my phone somewhere.
But
talk about yourself just for a second, and I'll find it for you. There we go.
Is it Spurs goal?
Yeah,
it might not be.
Oh God! Don't tell me that. Hang on a minute.
Come on, Daz.
Past all your
I'm going through.
It's a bit of a lottery. What could come off this?
Daz hasn't pressed play on the wrong button.
Listen, I was young and I needed the money. Can I just say? Right. Okay. I am feeling the pressure now.
Right. I'm gonna do the noise.
Tell us the score.
Okay, we've got a goal at Goodison Park over to Chris Tyler.
Yeah, Kane penalty. They're down to 10 men as well, Everton. So should be one less game for us to worry about. The fact I'm looking at other teams and worrying myself
that's where we are.
It's all right. By next week's show, hopefully Daz will have found the goal.
So you're looking for other teams. I'm still looking for your phone.
Anyway, there's a bit of positivity for the show. Decore looks like he slapped Kane in the face. That's a 3-game ban. And Spurs a goal up. So there's some good news on the Wolves Report podcast. Breno was a positive. For me, guys, the performance was pathetic. So to come away from there with a bit of Pedence brilliance, that's also a positive. Nocky, I know you want to shout at me, and it was an absolute...
Crikey. Better edit that in later. We're not live, are we?
Yeah, we are. Daz, has Back to the Future 2 just come out? Crikey. Nocky, another positive is it was pathetic, and Wolves have absolutely nabbed the point, and that has got to have hurt Forest.
Yeah, I mean, I think Forest are certainly one of the 3 worst teams in the league. I think they'll go down. Yeah, it's a point, isn't it? But I'm away point in the Premier League. You've always got to be happy with that. But I'm just struggling to be overly excited because I just think it was an opportunity wasted. We had chances to really build earlier on in the season, and we've regressed, haven't we? And a game like that really shows it. Rather than going and taking it to them and we're not making teams worry about us anymore. We're adjusting to worry about other teams, and I don't understand where this has come from all of a sudden, because he did seem positive. Like Dad said, we went at Liverpool and we really got at him and we took him to the cleaners, really. And the fact that we won't do that against the teams that I think will be in the Championship next year, I don't understand where this
it's hard to understand. And I think Tyler's right. I'm not expecting anything on Saturday, but I think we'll see a better performance in terms of aesthetically pleasing. I don't. It's not going to be much worse, is it? But let's just move on to the next section.
I was just going to say about. I mean, Tyler mentioned that we'd had like 2 weeks to prepare. I thought we'd have really cleared our heads during that time.
Yeah.
And yet all the histrionics were there again on Saturday. We were talking on the phone and saying, don't let Cooper wind you up. And that's exactly what was going on the touchline. And I think that we want to see a manager with passion. But every time you look over, the manager's all over the place and the bench are all over the place and everyone's pushing and fighting. And it's a bad example to set for the team. You need to look to that touchline and think that bloke, that man, your boss, is in complete control of everything. Even if he's bricking it, he needs to look as if he's in control. And we're not getting there at the moment. And I don't think that's helping anybody.
I mean, I think there's a happy medium, Daz, because I saw Bruno Lage when we went 3-2 up at Villa, just peeping up into the stand. Me and Nokia disappeared somewhere from row Z to row A with holes in our heads, because I think I want to see some passion from the manager.
There's a difference between passion and absolutely losing your discipline, which is what's happening every single game now on that bench.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy the amount of stuff that's going on there. Let's move on to the next section then and move away from Forest. The big question is, and I don't want anyone to say points because it's obvious, but we need to talk about what it's going to take to survive now. Tyler, what is it going to take for Wolves to survive?
Points.
You absolute dickhead.
You couldn't have, but without being a whatever you just called me, it's nothing else. And would just like that said, you've all said you'd probably sacrifice performances for points. That is all that matters now. It doesn't matter how we get them. I think we need to get, like Daz said, a settled team, a focal point, play your best players in the right positions. I mean, these are the most basic things you could ever think of in the world, and find a formula, because we've got not very long left, have we? And I still think we might need another 12 points. I think 40, yeah, you know you don't go down with 40. That's the target, isn't it?
Just going on that, Tyler, that's a lot. You're expecting the teams below us then to get a lot of points.
So I think the teams below us are all. I don't think West Ham will be in the mix. Bournemouth are doing well. Leeds, Forest, they're picking up points. Leicester are the one that, surprisingly, are probably in the worst form. But I think outsiders would look at Leicester like they look at Wolves. Oh, everyone thinks Wolves have got enough. Wolves will be okay. But you know, in your own club, when it's bad, it's bad. I'm not saying we need 40, but that guarantees your survival, doesn't it? That banks it. So that's 4 wins. I think it's just back to basics. But this is what I can't get bed around what he's been doing for the last 2 weeks. Because if that wasn't the time to do it, I've got no idea when is the time to do it.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But as you rightly said before, if those wins against Spurs and Liverpool come against Bournemouth and Forest, it's better for us points wise than it is now. We've obviously got the same points, but it's better for us now because obviously our opponents have gone further back. Nocky, just say points as well and insult me, and then give me your take on what's it going to take for Wolves to survive.
I think Tyler's covered it. Settled 11, focal point up front, and worry about what we're going to do as opposed to worry about the opponent. We've just got to be braver. We've got to be braver in possession. We've got to be braver in attack. And the manager needs to be braver as well, because they're going to take their example from him. And if he's hiding away and playing defensive systems and trying to set up not to lose, that's going to filter down onto the pitch. So strongest 11. And I'm with Chris as well. I think we need 4 wins to stay up. I don't think 3 will do it, because I know you're saying the teams below us have to get a lot of points. They're not far behind us. And games in hand don't necessarily mean points in hand. But when everything's levelled up, we could be 1, maybe 2 points above the bottom 3. So you can't be relying on teams below us losing. So we've got to take matters into our own hand and just try and find a way to win them games. I mean, we get a couple of wins. You know, if we could win on win against Chelsea and then win against Brentford. I know it's pie in the sky. We're over the hills and far away, aren't we? But we just don't feel like we've got that in us at the moment. So until he can get settled and play a regular 11, we're going to struggle.
Daz, what's it going to take for Wolves to stay up this season?
I mean, I agree with Nocky, by the way. I mean, he always feels now as if Palace might be okay because of the one win and they're 5 points.
And the method of that victory as well is really going to kick them on.
But again, 9 games to go. We'll know, as I said, we'll know more after tomorrow night when pretty much everyone's on equal games then. And we've all been doing it. And again, my blood pressure's gone through the roof. Was looking at the fixtures when everyone's playing each other and you're trying to work out, like yesterday, West Ham and Southampton, well, what will be the best result? Ultimately, we've got 9 games. We've got to do it ourselves. And if we aren't capable of picking up 10, 11, 12 points from those 9 games, then we'll get what we deserve, ultimately. And then we really will have the post-mortem about why didn't they buy a proven centre-forward, blah, 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 blah. But it's just about about being brave, being positive, and keeping a cool head a little bit more with some of these players. And I've talked about what's going on the touchline as well. Just calm down. And the oldest saying that they always say, play the game, not the occasion. Just get out there and do what you do. Sounds simple.
Absolutely.
Oh, and points as well. Points.
You three, honestly. Who needs mates with you three around? I mean, it does sound as simple as that. And I totally agree. I would love to see a settled 11. We'd all love to see 4-2-3-1. I just don't think he trusts the players to do it. The one player who, and I never thought I'd ever say this, the one player, if we could get fitting into the team, that would maybe allow him to do 4-2-3-1 would be Hwang. He really trusts Hwang. And the one thing about Hwang as well, it's his defensive contribution from the front. He defends from the front, he protects his fullback. So when you've got someone like that playing left or right of your inverted forward, you've got someone you can trust then. And it's no coincidence that the level of performance and the tempo against Liverpool, Hwang was a big part of that. And I mean, it was brave putting Adama on, and Adama did okay. But when you've got players you can trust, you can play the system that you want. And I don't think he trusts the forwards to do the job defensively from the front.
And that's because he's actually, when he's been asked about Hwang, he's actually said he understands what I want. He understands.
That's massive.
What I'm asking. Yeah. Doesn't say much for the others, but he said he actually gets it and he knows.
Hwang, it's. You know what? He's got a nice run off the ball. He's strong and he's quick. He's a great athlete. But in terms of technical ability, he's probably Wolves' weakest wide forward. But in terms of being a professional and doing the job, he's probably the best at that.
Positive as well.
Yeah, he is, and he's brave. And I'd totally written him off. But if he can be trusted under a manager, listen, I don't care, and I'm sure you guys don't. I don't care who starts, as long as Wolves stay up or Wolves win. It doesn't matter for me. We all have our favourites. We want people to do well because you naturally get drawn to one person or the other. But if Hwang comes back in, and I think it'd be better for Wolves. And Tyler, that's not something I thought I'd ever be saying.
Yeah, but he's got to get fit, hasn't he? Doesn't have a run of games. Can't stay fit. So you can't bank on someone like that who can't put three games together. You know, his hamstrings are obviously made of, I don't know, glass, aren't they? They're obviously not. His body's not keeping up with what he wants to do. He's one of those impact players, quick sprints.
I know the feeling.
As his body let down. Yeah. So we can't rely on someone like that who's always injured, if you ask me, but that's just my opinion.
Sorry, mate, carry on. Here's me jumping in. I was going to just say that.
Mate, if you can't get your goal on working, don't come in here jumping on me.
It's interesting because usually, however your team's doing, whether it's Wolves or another team, there's usually a different spectrum of opinions and feeling, but the overriding, I think the overriding sense we're getting at the moment is that everybody feels the same way. There's very few people who don't feel like this. We can't all be wrong.
Yeah, it does feel like that. There's many of us on the same page, but Daz, as you said at the start of the show, if he keeps us up, then that's all that really matters, and we have to reassess, and I'm sure it will. Let's move on to some questions. You're listening to and watching episode 58 of the Wolves Report with BBCWM's Daz Hale, Mark Knott, Chris Tyler, and myself, Ryan Lester. We've had a fantastic response to the questions. Some of the questions have been duplicated, so I couldn't use everybody's, but thanks for the huge response on Twitter that I put out yesterday morning, which was Sunday morning. Gavin Cheadle asked, my main annoyance is the lack of discipline and professionalism shown by the players after the game. How much of this is due to the captain manager? Could it be our ultimate downfall? Mark Knock.
I don't think so. I think the downfall's a lack of goals. I don't think it's too much to do with the manager getting the ump. A lot of teams do it, don't they? Referees get surrounded by players all the time. I think Daz touched on it earlier.
You get sent off for that, Knocker.
Well, yeah, you do. If you're the third one, you do. But I think if you can... I don't mind that little bit of fire. I didn't like the way Bruno Lage used to react. He was too... He didn't have that link with the fans because he was too reserved and didn't get stuck in. I don't want the full-on punch-ups like we've seen against Forest, but I'm all for a little bit of let's get in amongst it and try and get at the referee and edit him, get those decisions that maybe we wouldn't get otherwise. I know it's not the cultured way of doing it, but for me, whatever we need to do now to try and survive, I'm all for it.
Quick question on top of that, Nocky. Would you rather an over-passive manager or an over-aggressive manager?
Oh, an over-aggressive manager.
Of course you did.
Never had it. Reducers on tap, mate.
Thank you for your question. Jerry asks, why are we setting out not to lose instead of to win? We have to continually rescue games with subs instead of starting on the front foot? Chris Tyler.
I think he's probably answered it. I think, we do have to rescue it because he's getting the team wrong week in, week out. The only reason you make 2 or 3 subs at half time is because you've got your team wrong. And by doing that, he's admitting he's got his team wrong. And I think even after games this season, he's admitted he's got his team wrong. I'm not sure how many more times he can get away with using that as a reason and as an excuse. It's not good enough. It doesn't wash with me. His first job surely is to figure out what his best team is. That's anyone's job. And not to lose, I'd love to be able to answer it, but the team on Saturday was purely that. It was set out to get a point or to be 0-0 with half an hour to go and bring your best players on. Now I'm old school. Start your best players, try and get a goal or 2 lead, and then manage the game from there. So I can't answer that question. And we've done it against teams like Nocky said, Leeds, Bournemouth, Forest now, teams that stink. And we've not beat.
Do you know what though? I'm going to give him a bit of credit. He's got the team wrong for multiple weeks on the bounce now. I'm going to give him credit that he's not stubborn. He doesn't sit there like previous managers waiting for it to go right and then it goes wrong and it's too late then. He's prepared to admit he's wrong and change it. We want him to be right from the start, but we've got a manager that goes, it's not working, I'll change it. It's not about he's too big, he's not wrong. And I respect that. But yeah, I know he's getting it wrong, Tyler, but he's prepared to change it. And he's rolled the dice many times and fixed what he's done wrong.
But
that's fine.
It's pure incompetence to pick this up wrong team week in, week out. It's pure incompetence.
If the tactic of staying in games, keeping it really tucked in, keep it compact to the last 25, and then bringing on your Traore, your attack place, if that tactic was working regularly, you'd go with it and say, okay, well, that's what he does. We know what he's going to do, but it don't work because more often we don't keep clean sheets.
He does have to do it, yeah.
1 win out of 7 speaks for itself, doesn't it? He's getting it wrong more than he's getting it right.
Jerry, thank you for your question and contribution to the Wolves Report. Duncan Richards asks, have we lost our identity? Have we had one since Nuno? Daz Hale.
Yes and no. We have though. Again, we don't know how we're going to play from week to week, and it just goes back to the point we were making before that there's no clear plan, and it seems to be scattergun. It seems to be erratic. It seems to be not just different system every week, 2 or 3 every game. Aren't I clever, everybody? And same thing happened with Bruno Lage. And no, we haven't had. Everybody knew how we were going to play under Nuno, and I think even by the end, then he was having to change it because we'd been worked out. But no, I don't. How do Wolves play? I don't know.
No idea.
At this moment in time, Wolves don't have an identity.
No.
He's like I think Alex Richards said a while ago when he came on. You know a Man City goal, you know an Arsenal goal, you knew a Liverpool game that were winning the league. They score the same sort of goals week in, week out. We're hardly creating chances. We don't really know. Hopefully, if Wolves stay up, then Wolves can restart with their identity and have a set way of playing with a set team. He doesn't know his best 11. So, yeah, great question, Duncan. This is one. We'll let knock it loose off with this one. Steve Webley asks, is Nunes a left winger? Is Martinho a 10? Is Kuna a 9? Is Totti a left back? Take your children away from the screens, Mark Knock.
No.
No.
Nunes should be playing in 4-2-3-1 alongside Neves or Lamina for me. Martinho should be on for the last 15, 20, 25 minutes to close games out or to give you that little bit of something different. And Cunha is a wide attacker. Totti's a centre half for me, or he can play in a 3.
Left of a 3 as well, yeah.
All of them are out of position, in my opinion. I mean, you saw the impact Cunha made when that Martinho made against Liverpool when he came on and set a third goal up. We saw what Cunha can do from the wide positions against Forest in the Cup. And you can see the impact Nunes made when he moved into centre against Forest. He started trying to drive forward. So it's square pegs and round holes again.
Absolutely. Thank you for your contribution, Steve Webley. This is one that can go around the room now. Really good question. Dave, which 3 teams are worse than Wolves? Now, we'll start with the worst answer first. Chris Tyler.
I don't think there are any teams that are worse than Wolves. I think if we stay up, it will be a bit.
But the table says, though, son, that there are more than 3 teams worse than us.
Okay, but all right. So Leeds battered us. Bournemouth beat us. Forest drew. We beat Liverpool and Tottenham, but we're not better than them, are we? So
Doubled Southampton. Forest couldn't beat us.
I'd argue maybe Southampton are worse than us, but from what I see, there's not much else.
Okay, I'm going to rephrase the question. I'm going to rephrase the question then to get an answer out of you. If 3 teams finish below Wolves, which teams do you think they would be?
Crikey, Riley. Southampton will be 1. I'd argue Forest. When everyone says Bournemouth, but they seem to have come on. They're the only 3 you could argue, player for player, are inferior to Wolves, man for man. I think they're the only 3 you could argue.
Daz, which 3 teams are worse than Wolves?
Whichever 3 are in the bottom 3 when the music stops, because I don't think there's anything to choose. Usually by now, there's 1, possibly 2 teams who are cut adrift and gone, and you go, well, there's only 1 place to play for. There isn't a particularly awful team. There isn't, that's why you've still got 8 teams, possibly 9 in the mix. I wouldn't want to call it. I just hope that when that music stops, we're not in the 3. But I'm 50-50 on it. I won't lie to you. I think it could go either way. I wouldn't like to call it.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I know these 2 have hammered me for it, but this is the most pessimistic I've felt about our survival chances. Whether it's because these 2 are 2 of my best mates, or whether it's because my eyes are poisoned from watching Wolves away at Forest, I don't know. Knocky, if 3 teams are to finish below Wolves, which pick would you 3? Not who would you like, because you can't have them down there. It's too far. But which 3 do you think would finish below Wolves?
I've thought for a few weeks that when the dust settles, in the next 2 or 3 weeks, I think it will be 3 from Wolves, Bournemouth, Southampton and Forest. I think 3 of them will go down. So hopefully Southampton, Forest and Bournemouth are worse than us.
I still think it'll be Southampton, Bournemouth and Forest. That sounds quite boring.
Bloody hell, I'm going to start smoking. Don't think I can cope with this.
Anyway, Dave, thank you for creating some fun, if we can call it that. Moving on to the next question. Nick Anderson asks, why J-Lo continually tinkers his starting lineup when makes the changes at half-time, it appears not to be working, happens every game. I think we've kind of covered that, Nick, but I said there's a few questions that overlap, but thank you for your question anyway. This is what I tweeted at half-time. You called it perfectly. A pathetic performance first half. J-Lee is an elite manager. Should we be concerned about the starting team selections and tactics again? I think we've gone over a little bit. This is a good question. Tyler, you can have this one to start with. Will J-Lo be in charge next season?
I think, like Dal says, it's when the dust settled. I think if we're still in the Premier League, yes.
Everton have equalised.
If we're not, no.
Everton equalise in injury time.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, probably. If we stay up, yeah, he'll be there, I think. If he doesn't, then I can't see him sticking around in the Championship, but could be wrong.
Daz, will he be around next season?
Don't know. Simple. I mean, I don't. Again, if they stay up, then you'd think he'd get the opportunity to put his own stamp on it. If they go down, I think they would have. I don't think I'd want him there. If they go down, I think they would need to have a serious rethink. And it's just at the moment, it's just too difficult. It's just so much could happen between now and then. So I can't call it.
Yeah, tough one. Thank you for your question, London Wolf. Steve Lee's regular contributor and supporter of the Wolves Report. Is it time to go through at the back and play 3-5-1-1 with one holding midfielder, Kuna and Podence, behind Raul or Costa? Nocky?
No.
I
still want to see us at 4-2-3-1 for me. I mean, I'm not saying Steve's wrong there. It may well work, but I just think 4-2-3-1 properly set up with players who can play in the natural positions, I think we'll see more benefit than 3-5-1-1, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was horses for courses against Spurs because we matched them up, went man for man, and somehow found out that we were better than Spurs going blow for blow in the same formation. So that was a tactical masterclass for me, that second half. But I wish Spurs were doing a tactical masterclass instead of getting their own players sent off and drawing at Everton. But there we go. One more question. This is from Mike Allen. How come some players look as though they won't die for the cause whilst they're playing the game, yet when they celebrate, they look like they bleed the gold and black? Oof. Daz,
I don't think there's any problem with them not caring enough. There's pressure. I've talked before about there aren't as many big personalities now around the place, and I think some of them playing within themselves, and they're being asked to play safety first football, aren't they? As going back to right at the start of the program when we were on about having 72% possession, but how many forward balls were played in that 72%? They care. They're desperate to do it, but it's the pressure. And again, a lot of these players have never been in this sort of situation before in their careers.
You are listening and watching to episode 58 of the Wolves Report with Chris Tyler Martinock and BBC WM's Daz Howell, with myself hosting Ryan Lester. Saturday's a massive game. I'm not resigned to losing, but I almost feel like there's less pressure than the Forest game, which sounds ridiculous because there's one game less. We're in more trouble since the Forest fixture. But Tyler, I feel like the pressure's off on Saturday because the expectation is so low.
I was buzzing about it if Potter was still there, to be honest, because I thought Chelsea been that bad under him. I thought if we could make it a bit of a scrap and we could make it a bit horrible, we might get a result. They're a team full of individual quality footballers, and I think, like I said, if you give them chances, they're bound to take one or two. I understand that, but if we sort of get into them and go at them, I don't necessarily fear them too much. I don't think they're a team full of character and a team full of battlers. And it's just, can we be tight? Can we be more on the front foot? Can we be more creative? And got nothing to lose. Like I said, it's a free hit. Treat it like the Liverpool game. Treat it like that. Come out the traps. Who knows? You might be 1-2 nil up at half time. You might be a goal down, but it'll probably be a goal down anyway. So,
well, Nocky, we can't go gung ho against them because regardless of their.
We did go against Forest. What
I'm saying is, because it's a nothing to lose game. If you throw the lot at Chelsea, regardless of their inconsistency, you get your pants pulled down. But you have to give something back in this game. If you took off like you did against Forest, Wolves are losing on Saturday, and there's absolutely no question about it.
You'd like to think we'd have a go, but the reality of it is I can't pick who's going to play in goal at the moment, let alone who's going to play in the midfield or up front, because it's just so sporadic the selections are that he may go 4-2-3-1. My suspicion is he'll go 4-3-3. But you just can't predict what he's going to do. So I'd love to think we'll have a go with him. My suspicion is he'll sit back early on, try to soak up a bit of Chelsea pressure and maybe.
Well, we did that against Leeds and Forest, didn't we? That didn't end well.
But I still think that's what he'll do, and I think he'll hopefully see us still in the game on 70 minutes, and then maybe we'll use some of our better players from the bench and try and push on. I don't want to do that, but that's kind of where I think he'll be.
What worries me, Daz, the most about Saturdays, and I know Steve Lee's mentioned this earlier on, they are set in their ways, 3 centre-backs. Despite the manager going, I think it'll be a very similar setup for the weekend. I don't see wholesale changes. I think Wolves will be tempted. Lopetegui will be tempted to match up and go through it at the back. I don't want that, but that's what I think he may do. He may be tempted to match them up.
Look, I could understand why he'd do that though, and that'd be a start. So there's a lot of things I haven't understood. So again, it wouldn't be for me. But if he decides to do that and we get a result out of the game, whether it's 1 point or 3, well done, because he's had fair criticism, I think, tonight, and it's justified. Let's hope that, in a week's time, everyone's saying what a masterclass it was from him. But ultimately, it's his call, but he's got to get it right now, hasn't he?
It's huge, Nocky.
We've talked about it before. I'd have no issue going 3-4-3 if it was players in the right position and it was 3 forwards with a centre forward and it was 2 wing backs trying to get hot.
So if it was Matheus Nunes and Lamina who've got engines to get up and down in a team that can support defensively and they've also got the legs to cover a bit, I have no issue with that either. I have absolutely no issue with that either.
Rather that or against Forest with 4 centre mids. We all know what we'd rather say.
I don't know if there's been a goal, but the market's been suspended. I think it's probably a draw, isn't it, Tyler? I don't know if it's finished your end there, but it looks like they're deep into injury time. I don't know if it's full time.
He's at a 30-yard world.
I mean, who doesn't beat Spurs at home? But anyway, Nocky, it's massive on Saturday. Nocky, about 5 minutes to go left on the show. How would you set up on Saturday? What's your starting 11?
Good luck.
Bueno at left back, Semedo right back, Dawson, if he's fit, he didn't look comfortable against Forest. So Dawson and Kilman. I go 2 in midfield with Lamina and Nunes. 3 behind the striker, 3 would be Pedence, Adama, Cunha tucked in behind Jimenez or Costa.
Tyler.
Yeah, I don't really see much different. Yeah, probably the same.
I know
Sarabia gets a bit of stick, but I like the way he can keep the ball. But I know that's probably not enough at this level. But yeah, it's not far off what Knocker's come out with.
I mean, with Sarabia, I always feel like if there's a key pass to be made or something to happen, I feel like he could do it because he's clearly got quality. You don't have 12 assists and 22 goals last season, and you don't be playing like Messi's understudy at PSG if you aren't any good, because he's clearly a good footballer.
In a 10, I think he'd do a job for us, but I don't think we're playing to his strengths at the minute.
I think
so 3-1 behind the striker. I think you'll see.
Probably put him at left back.
Daz, one thing we can't do on Saturday is not start number 9. Is it going to be Diego Costa with a bit of romance against his old club, or as Jimenez was totally put out the side on the weekend, does Jimenez come back in?
I mean, it may have been because of the travelling he'd done as well, Raul. And he got booed, didn't he, as well, by the Mexico supporters while he was away on international duty. Toss of a coin in it, but there has to be that focal point. And I'm guessing that you would see both of them throughout the 90 at one point anyway. So we'll start with the one and go with the other. But after his impact off the bench on Saturday, again, because of the whole Chelsea thing, I'd start with Costa. And
I think the key is there as well. As we've made the mistake with Jimenez, whichever one we play, we have to play somebody close to them.
Yeah.
If it's 4-3-3, one of those forwards has to be narrow next to him, whether it's Cunha or Sarabia. You can't leave Costa or Jimenez to do it by themselves because they're just not capable of playing that game anymore. I don't mind which one starts. I would prefer Costa because he's involved with the goal, and I'm a believer in football. If you've had an impact in the game from the bench, I think you earn your opportunity. Now, as Jimenez, I mean, I think he was pretty good against Spurs. Otherwise, we've not really seen much of him recently. I think Costa deserves to start. And if he does, it needs to be with Sarabia or Cunha. As you said, Tyler, if it's a proper 3-4-3, I don't mind. But for me, if you're going to play a 9, you have to play someone who's a 10 or an 11 just off him. Because if you don't, the ball's just going to keep coming back. You've been watching episode 58 of the Wolves Report with Chris Tyler, Mark Knock and BBC WM's Daz Hale. It's prediction time. This will be fun. Start off with you, Knocker. Your prediction for Wolverhampton Wanderers v Chelsea.
See, my head says 3-1 Chelsea, but I'll go with my heart and say 1-1.
I'm absolutely taking your arm off for that one.
It'll be Matheus Nunes with a 25-yard rocket.
Ooh, equaliser in injury time. We'll take that. Well, you'd have missed it, mate. You've gone home. Tyler.
1-1. And then Costa just to try and show up like a bit of romance in there.
I've got to be honest, I'm absolutely staggered that you two have both said Wolves aren't going to lose on
Well, we
Saturday.
get a lot of stick for being miserable sods, don't we? So
But you are. I mean, I know you've lied through your teeth, but this is excellent. Daz, your prediction for Wolves v Chelsea on Saturday and your first goal scorer. You can't work it again.
Yeah.
Mike Taylor at Molineux.
0-0.
Well, I'm going to complete this. I'm going to complete the set and go 1-1. I always predict us to win. I just can't see. But the fact that we've all gone 1-1 and 0-0, I'm absolutely taking your arm off. Hope you've enjoyed episode 58 of the Wolves Report. Thank you to Director of Football Chris Tyler, Club Captain Mark Knock, and BBC WM's Daz Hale, who you can catch on weekdays at 6 p.m. for the football phone-in and Saturday afternoons for the football and your midweek football games as well. Hope you've enjoyed that. Hopefully we've got something positive to talk about next week. Up the Wolves.